let's get started seated. You can be on the floor or you can be in a chair. Whatever feels best for you. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of chesed, a little bit of loving attention to begin. On this 20th of the month of Elul, Rosh Hashanah, beginning next Wednesday night. So if you'll take your palms, rub them together, make some heat. And just attune to the sensation in your palms as you build some heat. And then allow your face to fall into your palms such that your hands are sort of cupping your eye sockets, and just let the heat be felt through the eyes, around the eyes, behind the eyes. See if you can just soften a little bit through the eye sockets. You can use some breath, some sound on the exhale, some sighing. Just to begin to let go, to begin to arrive. And we'll start with a little bit of generous facial massage. So taking the tips of the fingers, the pads of the fingers into the forehead. And this is really an opportunity to be both giver and receiver. So as the giver, you can check in and see, what amount of pressure do I need? What speed is right? What sort of a pressure do I want to just press and hold? At points, do I want to rub in circles? And as receiver, to savor, to receive, to enjoy this gift from your own soul, from yourself to yourself. Come down to the temples. You can take the brow between thumb and forefinger and just pinch from the bridge of the nose, pinch lightly all the way out the eyebrows. These are just suggestions. Of course, you could do whatever you like. And come down the cheekbones, down the sides of the face, a little bit of a stroke down. Come into the nose, rub the sides of the nose. And right under the cheekbone, there's a really strong muscle under there, so you can give some pressure as you move along that under the cheekbone. Once you get out to the edges, you're kind of at the hinge of the jaw. We'll give some massage to the jaw hinges. Very important place we really tend to hold, constrict, and tense. Massage down the face and down the sides of the neck. And you can go also to the back of the neck, where the base of the skull meets the back of the neck. And give a little massage there. And a little bit of chewing. It's really nice to open the skin of the face. Again, give some ease to the jaw. And then lastly, sticking out the tongue. And just pause and notice how that feels, how it felt to just give some love to the skin of your face. Notice if there's any sensation that lingers there, or any change in your breathing. And then we're going to take the gaze side to side, just looking over one shoulder and then across the horizon and over the other shoulder. Let this be quite easy. Let the eyes lead. The head follows and the neck follows. The shoulders are easy. And again, the eye sockets are soft. The tailbone extends down and the crown of the head extends up. Spine releasing in two directions. Sitting up tall, really allowing the abdominal muscles, the core, to help support us. And then take the right ear to the right shoulder. Just let it fall. And see what adjustments you'd like. If you'd like, you can take the right arm over the head and give a little tug as you extend through the fingertips of the left hand. See what amount of pressure feels just right. See if you can soften in the abdomen a little bit. And then slowly release. Allow the head to float up through center. And left ear to left shoulder. Similarly, decide what you need. Maybe you want that addition of the hand, maybe not. Be gentle with your own shoulders as well. And then come on up. And lastly, a little bit of cat and cow, arching and curling. So as you inhale, roll to the fronts of the sitting bones, lift the chest, lift the gaze. And as you exhale, curl. Let the mid-back come back. Inhaling and arching. Exhaling and curling in your own breath. Linking breath and movement. A couple more times. And then when you're ready, come on back to center, to neutral. I'm going to just share a few words today. So in week one, we became attuned to opening our hearts and awakening to what's present, what needs some loving attention. In week two, and we did that, right, to move into week two, which enabled us to bear witness perhaps a little more to the pain of the world through the call of the shofar, and let that inform us, but not overwhelm us. To do it in a titrated way. Which brings us to week three this week. Attuning to the shofar is an invitation to rachamim, to compassion, for ourselves, for others, for this planet. So I'd like to share some words from Mark Margolius, a little bit of teaching, and then we'll practice some more. Mark says, as we move through the next several weeks, we may experience a tumultuous combination of gratitude and grief, hope and anxiety, connection and even disorientation as we celebrate the high holidays, commemorate the first anniversary of the October 7 attacks, and anticipate the results of the upcoming American election. We're blessed with a tradition that offers us powerful tools to support ourselves and respond to this disorienting and unsettling time. Our spiritual practice at this moment, through the call of the shofar, is to notice and feel the vibrations of the shofar resonating with the oscillations of our souls. Such a great sentence. I'll read it again. Our spiritual practice at this moment is to notice and feel the vibrations of the shofar resonating with the oscillations of our souls. As an antidote to the turbulence around us, the shofar is a spiritual tool that helps us realign our inner lives with the underlying, enduring rhythm of all being. And so this week we practice compassion, creating a spaciousness that's necessary to counter constriction with expansiveness, to see more clearly our options for action and to be able to respond. Right? So often we think, okay, I'm discerning what needs to be done here, and then I'm going to beat myself with a stick, right? And that inner critic really comes and is harsh. And we think that that's the thing that's going to spur us to action. But in fact, it's counterintuitive a little bit. It's really rachamim. It's compassion, grace that are going to help us. So this is a text that discusses God's movement through the call of the shofar from din, from judgment, to rachamim, to mercy or compassion. This is Vayikra Rabbah. Rabbi Yehuda, son of Rabbi Nachman, explained this verse, which comes from Psalm 47, verse 6. Elohim ascends in tru'ah, the sound of the shofar, tru'ah, yud he vav he, in the call of the shofar. Right? So, in the moment when the Blessed Holy One sits on the throne of judgment, God ascends with judgment, with din. We know this through the psalm. But when the Jewish people take their shofarot and sound them before the Blessed Holy One, God stands up from the throne of judgment, kisei din, the seat of judgment, and sits on the throne of mercy, kisei rachamim. And God is filled with compassion, and then has compassion for them, for us, and switches their treatment from the attribute of din, of judgment, to the attribute of compassion, of rachamim. So from this text that we learned that the shofar actually induces a shift in the Holy One to go from din to rachamim, from judgment to mercy. And we are invited during this month of Elul through the call of the shofar every morning as an invitation to soften the voice or multiple voices of harsh judgment within us, to move forward toward a more generous, more forgiving, more loving and spacious attitude of rachamim, right? In contemporary parlance, to soften the harshness of the inner critic, right? And that's really what we do in yoga every time we practice. Make some more space and soften maybe 5%, just so we can turn any restriction, constriction, and intensity of judgment to a more compassionate approach. And when we do that with ourselves here in the micro on the mat, we can bring it out to the world. So that's what we're going to look at through the lens of our poses today. Please find a comfortable stance. We'll begin with mountain pose. We'll move into a few standing poses, and then we'll come to the floor. So beginning with mountain pose, the feet can be together or hip width apart. Lift and spread the 10 toes and place them back down on the mat. Maybe you can see a little bit of mat in between each toe. And ground the four corners of the feet, the inner heel, the outer heel, the mound of the big toe, and the mound of the little toe. So we ground the four corners of the feet like setting our tent pegs, and then see if we can lift a little bit through the arches, through the center of the foot. So really attuning to the foundation that carries all the way up. Be aware of the joints in line with each other, knees over ankles, hips over knees, shoulders over hips. Let the shoulder blades slide down the back, bottom tips of the shoulder blades moving down the back, making more space for the neck and ease for the head. Wonderful. And from here, we will take warrior two. Wide legs. We'll take the right side first, left toes in, right toes out, front heel in line with the back arch. The hands can be at the hips or the hands can be extended at the shoulders. The palms are facing down, the fingers are spread. Inhale here and exhale, bend through that right knee. The gaze is over the right fingertips, right? It could be a small bend or a larger bend. See what your hips are allowing today. Find your sweet spot. A few breaths here. It's okay if that thigh shakes a little. We are working on strength. Smooth, steady, even breathing. Inhale to come up. Exhale, change the feet. Inhale, fill the shape that you are. Exhale, bend through the left knee, other side, extending through the fingertips, gazing over those left fingertips. A few breaths here. As you're ready, inhale, straighten. Come on back. You can hop or heel toe the feet in a little closer. The hips are a little wider. The feet are a little wider than hip width. And we're just going to take a little hula hoop circle. You can start in either direction. Keep a slight bend on the knees. Just making a nice circle with the hips. It can be small and grow larger. As if you were moving the hips through a vat of molasses. So it's a little bit viscous. It's giving you a little bit of resistance. Perhaps your torso becomes involved as well as the hips go back, the torso forward. As the hips go forward, the torso moves back. And then you can change directions. And just getting the synovial fluids moving. This alone is a really nice standalone 5-minute yoga practice that you can do anytime, especially if you sit a lot, which so many of us do. It's really good. Just noticing sensation and allowing, and then pause. Observe any reverberation of that movement through the body. And we'll widen the legs again. This time we're going to build and take side angle. So same feet as warrior 2. Left toes in, right toes out. Inhale the arms. Exhale, bend through that right knee. Inhale, place the forearm, right forearm to the right thigh. And exhale, if you like, you'll take the top arm over. Just finding your place here in this side angle, right? So the hand could be down, if that suits you better. The gaze can be forward, or the gaze can be up towards the ceiling, depending on your own head, neck alignment. Go at your own pace, your own needs. Moving from din, from judgment, to rachamim, to compassion. Inhale to come up. So what does that mean in the yoga pose? We're switching sides. It means maybe we come into the pose and we just feel like, oh, I'm so stiff. It's not what it used to be. There's all kinds of storylines going on. Can we just soften there and be right where we are? Inhaling the arms. Exhale, bend the knee. Inhale, place the forearm, and exhale, bring the top arm over if you like. Right, so Rachamim accepts right where we are today, in this moment, in this body, breathing, feeling what there is to feel. It's not that you have to give yourself a pep talk. We don't have to do that. Right? We're just tuning into what are the sensations in this present moment. As you're ready, inhale. Come on up. We'll take the hands to the hips. Inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, fold forward, not at the waist, but at the crease of the hips. Lengthening forward. So the hands are going to come to the floor or to blocks or to a chair. The legs are straight. The knees always retaining a micro bend. Draw the thighs back. Lengthen through the sitting bones, the tailbone. Imagine again that the spine is extending in two directions, back from the tailbone, forward from the crown, right? So in whatever plane we're in, it's the same. You might choose to stay here, or you might choose to come into a further forward fold by inhaling and lengthening the spine, and exhaling, dropping the crown of the head to the floor, walking the hands back so the fingertips are in line with the toes. The elbows are at 90 degrees. Crown of the head might rest on the floor or on a block. And press down through the four corners of the feet, just like we established in mountain pose. Be here for a few breaths. Feel what's here. Notice any judgments that might arise. Notice any harsh critic. Inhale, lengthen the spine. We start to unravel and come up. And when we notice that harsh inner critic, we can just call it out, right? This is a storyline. Inhaling, coming up. Lifting the heart, exhaling, coming back to neutral, stepping or hopping the feet toward each other. And let's just take a moment here to take a hand to the belly and a hand to the heart, the upper chest. You can close the eyes if you like and just feel any echo, any reverberation. Just like Rabbi Mark's great sentence there, the shofar helps us hear the oscillations of the soul. So when we take a yoga posture and then we finish, we can hear the resonance, the after effect, the oscillations of our own soul in line with movement. Right, so when we notice that critic coming up, it's just a habit. It's only a habit. That's all it is. We can notice that storyline and move to a space of rachamim, of compassion that includes just making space for what's here. Doesn't need to be the only voice. And as you're ready, you can release the hands, open the eyes if they were closed. We're going to come down to the floor. Bring your blanket. Might want to sit up. Give some lift to the hips, right, so that we don't have a tuck in the pelvis, but we're sitting up on both sitting bones. You can also do this on the chair, sitting toward the edge of the chair. You'll have less of an angle at the hips and the knees with the feet below you. So it can be done in the chair. So the soles of the feet are together and you choose. It could be more diamond-like, or the heels can be a little in closer toward the groins. See what works for you. This is called cobbler pose. The hands come behind you. You can take them to the back of your blanket or to the floor. Tempt the finger tops and draw the elbows toward each other. Lift the heart up. Lift the crown of the head up. So either here, or you can take the first two fingers under the big toes and lift up. We don't ever want to press the outer knees down in any way. Right? We can press the outer edges of the feet toward each other. That helps externally rotate the upper thighs. Right? So this action isn't ever coming from the knees, it's from the hip. It's from the hip. From here, keep the left leg where it is. Extend the right leg long. We're going to inhale tall. And exhale, begin to fold forward over that right leg. You can walk the fingers, the hands forward. Lengthening long through the spine, right? Not rounding, but lengthening. Perhaps taking your hands to the right foot, or sometimes it's nice to make a cross with that left hand and take it to the outside of the right foot. Pressing into those right fingertops. It helps spin the rib cage forward a little bit to be straight on. And just feeling what arises in the hamstrings, in the calf. We don't want to have any pain or strain in the knee. So you can keep a micro bend on that knee. As you're ready, come on up. Before we switch sides, we're going to take that right leg out to the right side. Again, the left leg stays where it is. And we're going to take a side bend by walking those right fingertips out, starting to turn the rib cage to open towards the room. And then if you'd like, you can take the left arm over your head. Bringing some opening to the whole left side of the rib cage. It's really good for the whole breathing apparatus, the ribs, the diaphragm, the lungs. And then inhale and come on up. And bring the leg in, and we're going to switch sides. So right knee is bent, the foot is in towards the leg, the left leg is extended. And this foot can be, again, also more forward or a little more in towards the groin. See what works for you. Main thing is inhale up tall. Press into the hands to shift the torso directly over the left leg. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, begin to come forward. So we want that coming forward to be a lengthening, a broadening of the sacrum, of the low back, and not a rounding. So we inhale, we lengthen, and we exhale, we come forward just a little bit. And we inhale, we lengthen, and we exhale, we come forward over and over again. And once again, you can kind of play with this as you come forward. Maybe the right hand crosses the leg and catches the outer left foot. Be here and breathe. Notice where's your mind. Notice any voices of deen, of judgment, of harshness that come in. When you notice them, that's really the practice of softening, opening to God's presence as rachamim, compassion. As you're ready, come on up. Take the leg wide. And we're going to take a side bend now over to the left. So starting to walk those left fingertips out, or you can take the elbow in towards the thigh a little bit. That kind of helps to turn the rib cage. And then inhale the top arm. Exhale into the side bend. So there's no collapsing. We're really trying to open and lengthen with the inhale and then extend into the side bend on the exhale. As you're ready, inhale to come up. And we're going to come to lie down on the floor. The knees are bent, the soles of the feet are on the floor. And let's just take a moment in constructive rest position. The elbows are bent and the palms rest on the low belly or on the low ribs. Allow the spine to neutralize. Feel the movement of the breath on the inhale. Feel the rib cage, the abdomen rise into your hands. On the exhale, the abdomen recedes back toward the navel, back to the spine. Notice, is there anywhere that you're grabbing? Maybe the shoulders, or the throat, or the belly. That you can just soften and surrender to the floor, to be held. We'll move into bridge pose in this manner. Let's extend the arms and take hold of opposite edges of the mat. Draw the soles of the feet toward the buttocks. Inhale here. Exhale, lengthen through the tailbone. Draw the navel toward the spine. Begin to curl the pelvis and then press into the feet and lift up. Pelvis is coming up, so maybe it's just a small bridge like I'm doing here, right? Just lengthening. Maybe you're going to come up a little more by pressing up the hip points toward the ceiling and roll the shoulders under you slightly. Take a couple of breaths here. Really press in through the mound of the big toe. Don't let the knees or the feet splay. And then as you're ready, widen the shoulders and begin to lower vertebra by vertebra toward the floor, laying each precious vertebra back down one at a time till you're all the way down. And then we'll take bridge pose one more time. Inhale. Exhale, navel to spine, lengthen the tailbone, press into the feet, lift up. You decide, it can be low, it can be higher, right? You can roll the shoulders under you. Maybe you want to clasp hands underneath your body, or maybe you just want to continue to hold the sides of the mat, right? Make your decisions here. Knees parallel. The buttocks are not actively clenching, right? The buttocks are good. The gluteus muscles are going to be involved anyway. But think about the thighs going up and think especially about the hip points, the hip bones at the front of the pelvis lifting toward the ceiling. Lift through the chest. You're not crunching through the throat. You can still breathe. There's space at the back of the neck. And then as you're ready, lower down vertebra by vertebra. Pause when you get to the bottom. Place your hands right now, actually the palms of your hands or the heel bones of your hands on your front hip points, and give a little bit of pressure downward with your hands. Again, a little bit of self-touch to ground the pelvis. And then take the heels of your hands to your thighs, with your fingertips extended toward the knees, and just press away with the heels of your hands. Press the thigh bones away. Maybe you notice some lengthening through the abdomen. Moving from kisei din to kisei rachamim, from the seat of judgment to the seat of compassion. A little softness through the abdomen, space. Then you can release the hands. And we're going to close our practice with a lying down twist. So lift the hips and just shift them a little bit over to the left, just slightly. Draw the knees in toward the chest. The arms are extended out in a T at shoulder height. Palms can face up or down, just whichever you prefer is the right one. Inhale, draw the knees toward the chest. Exhale, ground through that left shoulder and left shoulder blade as you let the knees come down to the right. The knees are at least in line with the hips and maybe up toward the shoulders. Right? We want to protect our back in that way. So left shoulder grounded, left shoulder blade grounded. The gaze is either up towards the ceiling or over the left shoulder, depending on what works for you. Smooth, easy, steady breaths. And then as you're ready, inhale, bring the knees back up to center. Get ready for the other side by shifting the hips a little bit to the right. Inhale, draw the knees in as close as you can to the chest, and exhale, bring them over to the left side. You're countering the knees by extending through the right fingertips, by grounding through the right shoulder blade. Twist is wonderful for countering any tension through the abdomen and through the paraspinal muscles as well, which often gets so tense in our daily life, and again, especially through sitting. The twist is wonderful for aiding digestion and elimination. Wonderful counter pose after forward bends and backward extensions. It's good to include a twist in your practice every day. Could be seated, could be lying down. As you're ready, inhale, come back to center. And I invite you to hug the knees to the chest. Or take happy baby. Or take your hands to the knees and circle the knees, very slowly massaging out the lower back. Any option here that just feels very soothing, very nourishing, full of compassion for your one sweet lower back. It's all we get. Just one, so be good to it. Any last stretches, yawns, sighs, movement, poses, anything you missed? Anything your body is yearning for, go ahead and take that. And then as you're ready, I invite you to come into stillness. It could be constructive rest, knees bent, elbows bent, soles of the feet on the floor, hands on the belly. It could be a traditional shavasana, which is legs long, about mat width apart, arms to the sides of the body, 6 to 8 inches away from the hips with the palms facing up and the shoulder blades tucked under you. You might want to use the blanket under your knees, or under the back of your head for support. Take off your glasses if you're wearing glasses. And alternatively, you might be happier in a prone position, face down, or side lying in a fetal position. So just take any position that will be comfortable to be still for a minute or two. Begin to deepen the breath, coming back to the surface. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can take a nice yawn, sigh, stretch. And slowly make your way. Take your time, all the time you need, up to a comfortable seated position. Grounding the pelvis, grounding the sitting bones, and lengthening the spine, lengthening the crown, lengthening the tailbone. Beautiful teaching this week on really using the call, the sound of the shofar to allow God's movement from din, from judgment, to rachamim, to compassion, to come down and flow through us in the same way. Perhaps softening us to go from any harsh criticism of ourselves, of our neighbors, etc., in outward concentric circles, to soften to compassion. I'll include Mark's text. Rachel will include it for us in the chat. It has study questions for journaling, for thought, a beautiful poem attached, so I encourage you to work with that this week. We never hold on to our practice just for ourselves. We extend the benefits out in care. And so as we have been doing every single week, we close with Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael, part of our Monday and Thursday daily liturgy in the Torah service, praying for the release of the captives, the hostages, the chatufim. Right now, I believe the number is 97 hostages still in Gaza, 33 confirmed dead. We want them home, dead or alive, preferably alive, of course. We want them back. So Rachel will put the text on the screen. You can join singing with me or just listen. Achenu kol Beit Yisrael, Achiotenu כל בית ישראל הנתונים בצרה ובשביה העומדים בין בים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם עליהם ויוצאים מצרה לרווחה ומאפל לאורה ומשיבוד לגאולה השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב. השתה בגלה ובזמן קריב. Speedily. And we say v'nomar Amen. We extend out to anyone in our own personal lives who needs healing, refuat nefesh or refuat guf, healing of body or spirit, to all who are suffering in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Darfur, and all over this planet. May they be relieved of their suffering. Just completing a full breath or two to close our practice. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Sorry, I went a little bit over today. Thanks for staying with it. We'll stay for some Q&A. If you have questions, you can use the hand-raising function at the bottom of the screen, or you can put a question into the chat. Anything about our practice today, about the physical postures, if you have alignment questions, anything like that, or any questions about our teaching. If you have enjoyed this practice or any of the resources and offerings from IJS, I encourage you to make a donation in any amount. It's always welcome and helps us to continue to provide these free resources. Additionally, if you're looking to deepen your practice, your yoga practice, and your Shabbat practice, I'm leading a retreat at Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health in Western Massachusetts, in Lenox, Massachusetts, December 12 to 15, Thursday evening to Sunday. Rachel will put that link in the chat. Check it out. It's a great place to join in a group of about 20-25 of us to share Shabbat, to share some teaching pre-Hanukkah. I'd love it if you join me. It's really wonderful to be on Zoom and even better to be in person. Take a look also at the other links from IJS upcoming. Hope you'll avail yourselves of text study, of Kashira's class, etc. So thanks all for practicing. Hope it was a helpful practice for you today.